Hello friends, this is a seriously disgruntled worm here to talk about another L for the Destiny 2 community, and particularly PvE hunters, because over on the Destiny Reddit page, the Destiny 2 team posted some previews for hunter ability changes. We're going to talk about them here, and we're going to talk about why these changes are not good for the game. Now, they specifically mention here these changes are for both PvE and PvP. Now, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the changes just briefly, and then we'll go over, why they're not good. So for Threat Inspector, they're increasing the cooldown duration of Marksman's Dodge and Gambler's Dodge when Threat Inspector is equipped. They also removed the dodge cooldown penalty after creating a clone. If the clone is destroyed by attacks, it no longer spawns threadlings, and they've increased the amount of time the clone will distract nearby combatants before exploding. For Swarm Grenade, they've increased the Swarm Grenade's base cooldown duration by 15%. They've moved Swarm Grenade to a slower recharge tier for non-passive grenade energy gains, things like Demolitionist. And then for Smoke Bomb here, they've reduced the time that the Smoke Bomb projectile lingers in the world from 10 seconds to 3.5 seconds. And they've reduced the player movement speed penalty imparted by the smoke by 25%. Some other changes here, Threat Inspector, they're increasing the damage against combatants by 33%. So PvE damage increased by 33%. And for Swarm Grenades, they are going to make them easier to shoot. And when you shoot a Swarm Grenade projectile, it will chain detonate all the other Swarm Grenade projectiles around it. It's no secret that Prismatic Hunter is busted. Okay, like if you look at the trials report from last weekend, it was like 40% of all hunters were using Prismatic, and like 60% of all players were hunters. Okay, which means that there were a ton, that's like 60% of the player base in Trials last week was a Prismatic Hunter. And really, that is where the problems begin. And Bungie, they're doing this short-sighted, like really frustrating change log. Instead of going in and actually fixing the problem, they're just going to throw a blanket on it and say, okay, we're going to blanket nerf this stuff. And this is going to potentially destroy our regular light-based and darkness-based subclasses. Okay, again, the problem is not Threat Inspectors, it's not Swarm Grenades, it's not Smoke Bombs. It is Prismatic Hunter, and the fact that you can use all of these together on Prismatic Hunter. And that's something that I want to nail into Bungie's head. Okay, Smoke Grenades have never been a problem. Swarm Grenades have never really been a problem. Threat Inspectors, they were a little bit problematic when they were first released, but they were changed, and now they haven't really been problematic up until the release of Prismatic. And like I said, I want to repeat that a million times so that Bungie can understand that these changes don't need to happen. Okay, for the Threat Inspector aspect, first of all, I don't know anybody who even uses Threat Inspector inside PvE. It's just not that great, and they're making it just basically feel potentially even worse now. Like, it's going to take forever to get back. And one of the biggest concerns I have with Threat Inspector now is a similar situation to Bastion on Void Titan, which is that the barricade will take just a ridiculously long time to cool down. Because on Bastion Titan, that barricade takes forever. It takes like 80-90 seconds to come back with tier 10 resilience, which is just a ridiculously long time to come back. And I do not like that. And I don't use Void Titan. And when I do, I'm not going to use Bastion because they've neutered it to a point where it's just not even viable. And I feel like the same thing is potentially going to happen to Threat Inspector. Like, yeah, even though it gets that 33% more damage and stuff, like the other nerfs, like, why would I want to use that? Like, why would I want to use a little miniature nuke that can go off once every 40 seconds when I could just have a different build where I can just nuke everything as much as I want? The Threat Inspector aspect is not a problem by itself. It's only a problem because it can be paired with Smoke Bombs and Swarm Grenades and other area denial effects on Prismatic Hunter. Swarm Grenades, I think Swarm Grenades, this is the change I'm kind of the most okay with. Again, like, I think that it is a very aggressive grenade, and since they changed, what was it? Since they changed, I can't remember which. Oh, since they changed trip mines, I think Swarm Grenade was definitely the next go-to pick for most players. But again, I don't see Swarm Grenades being used all that much inside the Crucible. I'm sorry, pre-Prismatic, I didn't see Swarm Grenades being used all that much in the Crucible. And now they're everywhere. Why? Because, I mean, it's Prismatic Hunter. You can pair that. Plus, I think also, like, Prismatic Hunter's grenades just aren't, like, all that great anyways. But neither here nor there. And then, of course, The smoke bomb, this is just gutting the void kit inside PvP. I think in PvE, like, here's the thing, like, I know some people will say, oh, well, like, this has no effect on PvE because I'm not using the smoke bomb as a means of, you know, watching my back. Absolutely. If I'm doing, you know, onslaught, for example, and sometimes those enemies, they like to come around like sneaky little cheeky flanks, smoke bomb can be placed back there. If you see an enemy start going off in the distance, like, okay, they look like they might be going on a flank, you can throw a smoke bomb by that flank. And the fact that it lasts there for 10 seconds will typically be triggered by the enemy, and then it's your warning, okay, like, I need to maybe take care of an enemy that's behind me. Like, there are utility features for smoke bomb inside PvE, and then inside PvP, of course. In PvP, Void Hunter is a, like, it is a stealthy, like, that's the stealth playstyle. Okay, if you want to be a stealthy individual in Destiny 2, Void Hunter is the closest thing you're going to get. The snare bomb and the ability to put it down and then, you know, throw it at your feet, go invisible, and then flank around like a wall or something to an enemy that thinks you're still right there is a huge benefit of using Void Hunter. But it's not busted or OP, like, you're still on the radar, like, somebody can still know that you're coming for them. But because that smoke lasts 10 seconds, they know for sure there's an enemy right in front of them, but they don't, and so they lose focus on you coming around beside them. I think that that's ridiculous. I think that's going to completely destroy people who play Void Hunters, myself included. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased here because I play Void Hunter like it was a religion. But yeah, that's going to definitely ruin the Void Hunter inside PvP to a substantial degree. And like I said, like, Void Hunter is not a problem. Neither is Solar Hunter, neither is Strand Hunter. The problem is Prismatic. Bungie, you need to figure out what to do about specifically Prismatic. And here, I'll give you my opinions and my thoughts here. Independently tune Prismatic subclasses. Instead of taking, you know, oh, we're going to copy and paste Threaded Spectre from Strand into Prismatic, give it its own independent tuning. Okay, you have Threaded Spectre. Okay, Threaded Spectre, when you dodge, it makes a clone, but the clone doesn't create threadlings at all. Okay, there's your independent tuning from it. With, you know, your grenades, for example, you know, your grenades, they have different functionality. You know, Swarm Grenade doesn't track as aggressively, or it doesn't scorch enemies when it hits them. Like, I think that would be a completely okay change to make for smoke bombs, or for any melee for that matter. You know, they're a little bit of a shell of their former selves. It's similar to the fragments of Prismatic. Like, the fragments on Prismatic, they are not quite as directly impactful as some of our light or darkness subclasses, but they do a little bit of it, you know, and they kind of combine some features and stuff like that. Do the same thing for our grenades, our melees, and our aspects when we're using Prismatic. And I think that would help mitigate a lot of the issue. Like, if you would stop being, I hate saying this, but if you'd stop being lazy, Bungie, and actually take a look at the issues, okay, and solve the actual problem instead of doing a blanket change, I think that we would have a much better sandbox, quite frankly. You know, you give players the ability to use their stuff and their lights and their darkness subclasses to its complete ability, but when you switch over to Prismatic, they are a little bit changed and a little bit nerfed so that they're not quite as effective as they are on their counterparts, on their direct element related counterparts. That's my suggestion. Of course, I want to hear your suggestions as well. Like, what would you do to solve the problem? Because again, Swarm Grenades, Threaded Spectres, Smoke Bombs are not the problem. The problem is the fact that you can combine all three on one subclass. That's when it gets problematic. But with that being said, this is the end of my rant. Do me a favor, like the video, tag Bungie in it too, and share it on Twitter so that Bungie can see it, and Reddit and all that stuff. But yeah, with that being said, like the video, helps the channel a lot. Subscribe for more daily Destiny content, conversations, debates, discussions, stuff like that. And do me a favor, watch the videos you see here on the end screen, because for whatever reason, YouTube thinks you'll like them. Guys, I'll see you next time. Bye for now.